Have you ever sensed that something was off, yet couldn't pin down why? As if the choices you made weren't entirely your own, as if a hidden hand nudged you along. Maybe you agreed to favors you never wanted to do, surrendered in arguments where you were right, or put your trust in people who later revealed a completely different face. If any of that rings true, and it will for most of us, this message is for you. Because here's the hard truth. You are being manipulated every single day, by friends, by media, by leaders, by anyone who's learned to pull the quiet levers of the human mind. Worst of all, you rarely notice it happening. They don't need hypnosis or sci-fi mind control. The sharpest manipulation persuades you that you're the one in charge, that every choice, every misstep was purely your own. Most people drift through life like that, guided in silence, pieces on a chessboard they never knew existed. When they finally sense the strings, they're hit with guilt, fear, or doubt, because they've been emotionally trained not to push back. And if you're thinking, that could never be me, pause right now. That thought is precisely the blind spot every skilled manipulator counts on. In this video, I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to give you tools. Machiavelli knew that skilled manipulators don't need to yell or threaten. They simply watch, spot your weak points, and move. They understand what pushes your buttons, and if you don't understand, you'll get pushed. Today, you'll learn how manipulation works without you seeing it. You'll spot the patterns, the emotional hooks, the little games of control. You'll map out your own soft spots and learn how to guard them. Because real freedom isn't just doing what you want. It's knowing why you want it. This is a summons for anyone tired of being used, anyone blamed, silenced, or conditioned. It's your turn to drop the puppet strings and step up as the strategist. Fair warning. Once you see these moves, you can't unsee them. From here on out, your view of others and yourself may change for good. Ever notice certain people always get what they want, even when they don't deserve it? They never shout, threaten, or plead. They persuade. They make you feel like giving in was your own brilliant idea. That's not sheer charisma, it's technique, manipulation at its finest. The manipulator doesn't wing it, they observe. They watch your reactions, track your weak spots, and learn your emotional cravings. They see when you ache for approval, when you dread rejection, when you feel guilty for saying no, and they tap right into that. Manipulation starts long before words. It begins as they quietly read your body language, the tilt of your voice, the pauses you leave hanging. By the time you speak, they're already ahead, nudging you toward the choice they want you to make, yet convincing you that the choice was all yours. Some manipulators rely on charm. They flash a warm smile, shower you with compliments, and present themselves as unlike anyone else. You feel seen, heard, special. Yet behind that glow lies calculation. They're building an invisible IOU inside you. When someone seems too kind, your instinct is to pay them back. So you start giving ground. Others reach for guilt. They slip into the victim role. I'm overwhelmed. No one gets me. You're the only one I can count on. Little by little, you're handed the job of caretaker. If you pull back or say no, there's no shouting match, just a heavy sigh, a stinging comment, a sad stare. The subtle manipulator never has to ask outright. They make you volunteer. Then there are those who trade in fear. They paint worst-case pictures. Do that and you'll end up alone. Leave and you'll never find better. No chains, only ideas, doubts about your own strength, so you stay put by choice. These tactics aren't new. Niccolò Machiavelli, in The Prince, laid them out with surgical clarity. He knew people move on interest and emotion, and whoever understands that can bend reality. As he put it, men judge more with their eyes than with their hands, because everyone can see, but few can verify. In other words, appearance steers the many, while truth is inspected by only a few. Manipulation is exactly that, a crafted show of sights and feelings sold as reality. The manipulator builds a stage, hands out roles, writes the script, and without noticing, you step on set. You speak their lines, move on their cues, even believe the story is yours. Yet the drama works only because something inside you makes space for it. A crack, an emotional soft spot, an unspoken longing. That's the next layer, the vulnerability that marks you as a target. Until you see what leaves you open, you'll keep getting played. You're not manipulated because you're weak. You're manipulated because you're human. Every person carries an emotional blind spot, an old wound, a half-met need, an aching desire. That gap is the manipulator's doorway. They don't shove, they listen. They detect what you can't quite name in yourself. Many of us lug around an endless thirst for approval. From early on, we were taught to please to earn affection, to treat love as a prize rather than a birthright. So we bend our behavior. Be agreeable, be useful, be what gets praised. Just to feel seen, valued, accepted. That hunger for praise, that hollow feeling in your chest acts like a beacon. A manipulator tosses you a crumb of validation, and you repay them with blind loyalty. They whisper exactly what you ache to hear and, without noticing, you hand over your autonomy. Some of us drag around a silent load of guilt. We feel bad for saying no, bad for putting ourselves first, bad for drawing a line. We were taught that thinking of ourselves is selfish, and that self-sacrifice equals virtue. So even when alarms go off inside, we freeze, afraid of being called harsh, ungrateful, or cold. The manipulator reads that guilt like an open book. Posing as someone who only wants what's best, they steer your choices with a twisted moral script. Then there's fear. Fear of rejection, of loneliness, of disappearing. Gripped by that dread, people cling to any connection, even a toxic one. The manipulator steps in offering counterfeit safety, then dangles the threat of taking it away. Without me, you're nothing. And it sticks because your own fear has whispered the same lie for years. These vulnerabilities don't appear out of thin air. They're born of old experiences, quiet traumas, inherited conditioning, half-healed wounds. Until you face those cuts, they stay open, and anyone arriving with a warm smile and hidden agenda will know exactly where to press. Machiavelli understood, real control rarely needs brute force, just an accurate map of human weaknesses. The nature of peoples is variable, he wrote. It is easy to persuade them of something, but hard to keep them persuaded. A manipulator doesn't waste energy convincing. They simply fill empty spaces, settling wherever self-awareness is thin. Your exit route is simple in theory, demanding in practice. Identify your inner gaps and seal them. When the cracks close, you stop behaving like predictable prey and start living with sharp clarity. Most people say they want freedom from manipulation, yet few accept the entry fee: brutal awareness. Yes, truth liberates, but it stings first. The sting begins with this: believing your kindness, empathy, and understanding shield you is a comforting lie. Unbalanced virtues actually paint a bullseye on your back. Emotional immunity isn't about turning icy. It's about turning conscious, shutting down the autopilot responses manipulators count on. Begin with step 1. Spot your patterns. Pause and observe. Which triggers make you cave? Fear of disappointment, anxiety over rejection, the urge to keep peace at any price. When you see what drives you, you rewrite the script. Step 2. Practice what Machiavelli might call strategic detachment. Cultivate the skill of standing one mental step back, caring yet not captured. Listen without instantly leaping in. Accept compliments without swallowing them whole. Notice when someone steers you by emotion and insert a pause. Think before you move. Manipulators thrive on your emotional urgency. They need you to feel, not to think. So think. Step 3. Break your pattern and become unpredictable. Manipulators rely on routine reactions. They study your moves the way a chess player studies openings. If they cry, you rush to comfort. If they flatter, you drop your guard. If they press, you cave. Your best defense is to scramble that script. Say no when they expect a yes. Pull back when they expect you to chase. Stay silent when they gear up for a fight. That single jolt forces them to show their real hand and knocks their strategy off balance. Step 4. Anchor yourself in a solid identity. The clearer you are about who you are, the less you need to prove it, and the less leverage anyone has over you. Manipulators feed on shaky self-images. They plant doubts, spin stories, and nudge you to keep re-evaluating until your own reflection depends on their approval. When your internal mirror is fixed, outside hands can't twist it. Step 5. Treat emotional immunity like daily training. No video, book, or single aha moment can make you manipulation-proof. It's a lifestyle of relentless self-observation, spotting your urges to people-please, holding a pause between feeling and action, standing by your decisions even when the room vibrates with disapproval. Remember, you owe the world nothing beyond your mental integrity. Guarding that sanity in a landscape of emotional games is itself an act of quiet rebellion. Machiavelli warned, men must be either indulged or utterly crushed, for if they suffer only slight injury, they will avenge themselves. Brutal, yes, but it exposes an inescapable fact. In the arena of power, neutrality is fiction. Either you command the emotional field, or you're commanded by it. But what if the manipulator isn't a distant foe? What if he or she shares your table, your office, even your bed? How do you reclaim control when cutting ties isn't an option? That is the hardest test of all, escaping emotional control inside your closest relationships. And that is where we turn next. It's easy to spot manipulation when the manipulator is a stranger. The true challenge is admitting it when the person pulling your strings is someone you love, a parent, partner, mentor, or lifelong friend. In close quarters, control slips on softer clothes: affection, loyalty, tradition. Afraid of losing the bond, you stay tangled in an emotional web that drains your energy, fogs your judgment, and blurs your identity. The intimate manipulator doesn't need outright lies. They distort. They don't need to yell, they hint. They don't forbid choices. They load them with guilt if you choose differently. Slowly you stop questioning. You tiptoe around conversations, predict reactions, and dodge conflicts for peace. Without noticing, you become a hostage in an invisible cell built from emotional bricks. In romance, it sounds caring. I do this because I love you. Without you, I'm nothing. Love that demands surrender is not love. It's emotional blackmail. In family, it hides as tradition. You can't treat your mother like that. You owe us respect. Respect born of guilt isn't respect, it's control. At work, it dresses as loyalty. Be grateful. No one else would give you this chance. Gratitude turned into a debt is just manipulation in a suit. Proximity never excuses emotional violation. Love grants no license to shape another through fear or guilt. Real connection honors freedom. Anything less is control in disguise. Breaking the cycle starts with swallowing a hard truth. Affection doesn't guarantee a healthy bond. Someone can love you and still love you badly. Some ties don't protect you, they stunt your growth. 1. Set boundaries. Make them clear and firm. No long explanations. A calm no carries more force than 1,000 justifications. 2. Speak it out. Say what you see, what you feel, and what you will no longer tolerate, not to persuade the other person, but to stand true in your own eyes. Hold the line. Reactions will come. Insults, tears, icy silence. The manipulator feeds on your hesitation. They'll push, hoping you cave. Don't. Sometimes real love means stepping back, leaving the dysfunctional dance so the other person can face their own emptiness. As long as you keep rescuing, they won't change, and you'll keep losing yourself. It's a hard choice, but a necessary one. Only when you cut toxic cords can you develop new sight. Vision that reads beyond words, beyond masks, beyond surface intent. And with that clearer vision, we move to the next stage. Machiavelli wasn't out to sound noble. He was out to stay alive, mind clear, strategy sharp. He wrote for people willing to face reality unfiltered. In today's world, where every scroll, ad, headline, or relationship angle is a bid for your attention, you need that same mindset. Brutal clarity, cool strategy, and emotional detachment. We live amid non-stop influence, social feeds, marketing hooks, political spin, even well-meaning friends and family. Machiavelli saw humans as predictable. We move on interest and emotion. People judge with their eyes more than with their hands, he wrote, meaning that perception outweighs facts. Control the story and you steer decisions. Control the image and you guide behavior without ever raising your voice. So how do you stay shielded? 1. Kill emotional autopilot. Machiavelli rejected one-size morals. Everything is context. Kindness without discernment, icks foolish. Honesty at the wrong moment, ipso self-sabotage. Endless altruism, its servitude. 2. Observe before you act. Read people the way Machiavelli read princes. Watch what they do when no one's looking. Spot patterns, not promises. Listen for interests hiding behind words. 3. Anticipate, don't just react. Manipulators play chess, not checkers. They plan 3 moves ahead. Your defense is to match that distance, seeing the board, not just the piece in front of you. Master these habits and you stop being a pawn in someone else's narrative. Instead, you play the game on your own terms, and play it well. Use silence like a blade. Most people make themselves easy targets. They overshare, over-explain, overreact. The Machiavellian mind knows that quiet unsettles. Silence confuses, commands respect, and breaks a manipulator's timing. When you refuse to play your scripted part, the scene falls apart. And in that pause, you take control, master ambiguity. Machiavelli insisted, a ruler must appear virtuous, whether or not he actually is. Today, that means adapting your language, posture, and presence to the room without surrendering your core. Reveal only what shapes perception. Keep the rest hidden. Real power is what remains unseen. Own your emotional state. Manipulators feed on your swings, doubt, fear, hesitation. The moment you know your triggers, regulate your feelings, and stay steady under pressure, you become untouchable. Machiavelli advised, follow the paths beaten by the great. Even if you fall short, you'll still rise. Learn from those who mastered the game so you stop playing pawn. the last invisible strings. Everything we've covered means nothing unless you cut the final chords. Until you seize full command of your mind, someone or something will steer it for you. The puppet master isn't always a cartoon villain. It might be a smiling relative, an old childhood phrase you never challenged, or a culture that trained you to obey and keep quiet. Manipulation hides not only in other people's words, but in your unexamined thoughts, in emotions you treat as facts, in choices scripted by fear, guilt, or the itch for approval. Freedom starts the moment you stop calling conditioned reflexes free will. That freedom is expensive. It shatters the fantasy that everyone means well. It forces you to dismantle the self-image of the forever nice, forever available helper. It asks you to bear the awkward silence after a firm no, to feel the tug of loneliness when you step away from toxic patterns that once felt like home. You will stop being manipulated the instant you realize you no longer need to be accepted. When approval loses its grip, the strings fall away, and the only voice left guiding your life is your own. When the fear of disappointing others no longer steers your choices, when your clarity outweighs your craving for approval, when you can look a would-be controller straight in the eye and say, "No more," calmly and without apology, then you've cut the strings. What happens next rests on you alone. You could slip back into the old routine, forget this talk, and keep playing a game you don't even know you're in. Or you can begin today, training your mind to observe, analyze, resist, and rebuild. You can decide to be the person who won't bend to emotional blackmail, who sees through masks, who walks in a straight line while everyone else moves in circles. Tell me below, when did you first realize someone was manipulating you? What moment made the light switch on? Or are you still tangled in an emotional game and looking for a way out? Speak up. Writing it down is the first crack in the cycle. If this video opened your eyes, don't stop here. Watch the next one. It's at least as vital as this step. Knowledge is a ladder. Each step lifts you farther from the shadow. Keep climbing. Truth doesn't just set you free, it remakes you.